So we shall start the prayers now.
Shri Datta Ganapatim Bhaje, 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 Unmatta Natana Tandavam, Matte Bhavadana Bhasuram, चित्ताब्जबोधभास्करम् आयत्तयोगराजितं विद्वेषनित्यपूजितम् उत्तानपाणिमुद्रितं श्रीकृत्तिवाससुतं कैलासदृशदिनर्तनं भक्तान्तरङ्गवर्तनं पापौघपाशकर्तनं श्रीपार्वतीसुतं भजे श्रीदत्तगणपतिं भजे श्रीदत्तगणपतिं भजे श्रीदत्तगणपतिं भजे श्रीदत्तगणपतिं भजे लम्बोदराङ्गताण्डवं मुद्राकराब्जपण्डितं सर्वाङ्गनागमण्डनं वन्दे विनायकं पतिं धिं धिम्मितकिटमर्दलं भं भं निनादशङ्खकम् आनन्दनृत्यतत्परं ध्यायामि प्रमथनायकम् आमोदकरमोदकं वेदान्तमतिमादकं दुष्कर्मफलसाधकं विघ्नेश्वरं गुरुं भजे श्रीदत्तगणपतिं भजे श्रीदत्तगणपतिं भजे श्रीदत्तगणपतिं भजे श्रीदत्तगणपतिं भजे सृष्टिस्थितिलयकारणं मोक्षाख्यदैत्यमारणं संसारजलधितारणं स्तौमि प्रभो नरवारणं पञ्चास्यमादिदैवतं देवऋषिभिः समर्चितम् आलोकगलितसञ्चितं विघ्नाधिनाथमाश्रये श्रीदत्तगणपतिं भजे श्रीदत्तगणपतिं भजे श्रीदत्तगणपतिं भजे श्रीदत्तगणपतिं भजे लोकैकपरमवैभवं लोकेश्वरादिसम्भवम् आलोकपरिहृतोद्भवम् आलोकये परं भवम् श्रीकृष्णकविनिवेदितैः श्लोकाख्यमोदकैरिमैः आनन्दगणपतिं पतिम् आराधयन्तु साधकाः श्रीदत्तगणपतिं भजे 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 श्रीदत्तगणपतिं भजे।
ॐ परब्रह्मसमारम्भां श्रीदत्तात्रेयमध्यमाम् श्रीदत्तस्वामिपर्यन्ताम् Vande Guru Paramparam Sarva Vishwanyasta Pada Padmayate Vamahastalola Veda Shastrayate Jnana Suryayate Dattarupayate Shri Venugopala Krishnaya Vandanam Shri Venugopala Krishnaya Vandanam Shri Venugopala Krishnaya Vandanam Guru Datta Shri Datta Prabhu Datta Pahi Mam Vidhi Datta Hari Datta Hara Datta Raksha Mam Pahi Mam Datta Raksha Mam Datta.
Pada Namaskaram Swamiji. With salutations at the lotus feet of Shri Datta Swami, let us begin the Satsang with Shri Radha Krishna Gita. At present, we are going through the 11th chapter, which is called Moksha Prapti Vichara Yogaha, the association of the inquiry about the attainment of salvation. I offer this dedication at the lotus feet of Swamiji. From you alone is all knowledge sublime, and everything that's great and fine. All the ignorance and error are but mine, for I am just a soul, and you the goal divine. Trusting your compassion benign, my errant service I yet consign to those holy lotus feet of thine, Shri Datta Swami, my Sadguru trine. I hope my audio is coming out all right, because I have some network issues today. Can someone
Yes, sir,
give me
it's
some
all good.
feedback? Okay,
It
fine.
is good, sir. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So this chapter began with a question from Shri Radha Devi, where she wanted to know more about the 4 categories of souls that Lord Krishna had described in the previous chapter. So those 4 categories were explained by Lord Krishna. The first and the highest category of devotion, or highest category of love for God, is of those people whose love is based on love. There is no lust in the picture. They only have devotion, which is true love. And that true love they prove in practice also. The practice or the practical action in this context is not any sexual activity, but it is the sacrifice without any aspiration. The sacrifice of their worldly bonds, the sacrifice of whatever is asked by God, that the devotee willingly and happily sacrifices as the proof of their love for God. That is the highest category, which Lord Krishna describes as the sky. Somewhat lower than that is love-based lust. So here the devotee has some lustful feelings towards God, but those lustful feelings are based on true love. There is lust which appears to be some kind of a compromise, but that lust is based on love. So that also is of a high level. And Swami has put that at the middle level, between the sky and the earth. And then the bottom 2 levels are lust-based love and lust-based lust. So here the root cause of the relation, root foundation of the relationship with God is lust in both these cases. Based on that lust, there might be some love. The devotee may love God to some extent because the devotee feels that God will provide or will satisfy their lustful desires. That is lust-based love. And lust-based lust means that there is only lust. There is no love. There are lustful thoughts in the mind and lustful actions with God. That is the level of the devotee. So both these, lust-based love and lust-based lust, these are both beneath the ground. They are the types of devotion exhibited by animals or demons. So these are the four categories that were explained by Lord in the previous chapter. And in this chapter, Radha is asking for some more clarification on it. And then Lord Krishna clearly says that the first two are good and the last two are bad, and they don't yield any good spiritual fruit. Such people who are in lust-based lust or lust-based love, they are trapped in the worldly cycle. There is no liberation for them. So these are some of the things that we covered last time. Then there was a discussion about the lustful thoughts and their intensity. So there are three levels of intensity. There is the weak intensity of lustful thoughts. There is the medium intensity of lustful thoughts. And there is the high intensity of lustful thoughts. So they are called vasanas, samskaras, and gunas in increasing order of intensity. A vasana could be of any quality. In this context, we are talking about kama vasana. It is the quality of lust, and we are talking about its intensity. So its weak intensity is a vasana, medium is samskara, and intense intensity is a guna. Now the point here is that we must eliminate the lustful qualities on earth itself. We should not, we cannot expect these qualities to somehow magically disappear after we are dead. So it is not like you indulge in those vasanas or those qualities, lustful thoughts on earth while you are alive, you enjoy all that, and then somehow magically after you are dead, those qualities vanish. It doesn't happen that way. One argument would be that since in the upper world there are no material bodies, since the upper world is energetic, souls upon dying over here, they leave their material body right here, the body disintegrates, and the soul goes into the upper world in an energetic body. In those energetic bodies, there is no matter, and matter has the quality of tamas, inertia, rigidity. These qualities of particularly lustful qualities are tamasika qualities. They are qualities related to tamas. And so, lustful qualities exist in the human body on earth. And the way they are activated, the mechanism of activation of these qualities is through hormones, through material. They are molecules. Hormones are molecules. So it is matter that mediates these lustful qualities. Lustful qualities come to the mind due to the action of material hormones, which can only exist on earth. In the upper world, the material body does not exist. Material hormones do not exist, and hence the lustful qualities might not exist. This is what a person may think, that there is no need for me to control my lustful qualities here, because anyway, once this body drops off, when I am dead, when I go to the upper world in an energetic body, Since there is no matter over there, no hormones over there, there won't be any lust. That is not entirely true. It is approximately true. Certainly, the kind of lustful qualities and the kind of physical sex that we have on earth, that kind of sex and those lustful qualities may not exactly exist in the upper energetic world, but in a mild form, the sexual desire, the lustful desire still remains, because even in the upper world, there is still consciousness. Souls still have the set of qualities that are unique to that individual. Every soul, every individual soul is distinguished from another individual soul by the unique set of qualities that they have. Now, those qualities can be categorized into three fundamental qualities: sattvam, rajas, and tamas. Every soul has some sattvam related qualities, some rajas related qualities, and some tamas related qualities. The proportions differ from soul to soul. So each soul is a unique combination of certain qualities. Now, the kama vasana, which is a tamasika quality, tamas related quality, if you have a lot of kama, if you have a lot of lust while you are here in human form, those qualities persist in the upper world, even though the physical mechanism of sexual activity does not exist over there. Those qualities still remain. The qualities of awareness still remain. And those, even though those qualities in the upper world are much more refined and much more subtle compared to the way they exist in human beings, still, even those subtle vasanas that remain in the upper world, they prevent the individual soul from merging with God. Those subtle vasanas also become hindrances, and souls who possess them will not be able to merge with God. There'll be a no entry sign for such souls. So the only choice that they have is to go back to earth, obtain a human body, correct all their negative vasanas, the tamasika vasanas, eliminate all of them, become liberated while being there in a human body, and then come back to the upper world, and then they will be eligible to merge with God. But that is a very risky proposition, because when you go up to the upper world and suppose you are rejected over there and you are told to go back to earth, what is the guarantee that you are going to get a human birth? In fact, there is almost a guarantee that you will not get a human birth. Only under exceptional circumstances, God may sanction a second human birth for you. As it is, He has given a human birth to you today. You wasted that. You indulged in all sorts of worldly activities, indulged in lustful activities, fraudulent activities. We were driven in our human life. We were driven by kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. All these negative qualities made their home in our mind. And we did nothing to prevent them. Then what is the guarantee that when a second chance is given to you, that you are going to be different? So God is not interested in giving a human birth to anybody. This birth has been given. You make use of that. If you fail to use it properly, a second human rebirth is not going to be given. If He finds that there is some highly deserving soul, an exceptional soul, for such a soul He may give, because He is omnipotent. He has no limitations of any kind. But the wastage of a human birth is a very serious sin. And that disqualifies you from getting human rebirth. So what is the path then for us? For us, the only path is, while we are here on earth, we have to try our best to be Jivan Muktas. While living, let us attain liberation. Let us attain liberation from all the vices like Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Let us try to eliminate these negative qualities. These are the 6 enemies of mankind. And the only way to get rid of these enemies of mankind is to surrender to God, to learn His knowledge. It will automatically lead to devotion to Him. And that pure devotion has to be proven in practice. That is the path to liberation. Once we get liberated here, that state of liberation continues in the upper world. The person who has Jivan Mukti, the person who attains the state of love-based love, the person only loves God, proves that love in practice, has zero aspiration. There is no aspiration from God. He or she does not expect God to fulfill any lustful desire or any other desire. The devotee does not expect God to reciprocate his or her devotion at all. That is love-based love. If we attain that, we are in a state of Jivan Mukti. We are in a state of the climax of devotion. When there is climax of devotion, it means there is no other. There is only one consideration. There is only one goal of your life. There is only one goal of your love, and that is God. There is no second item at all. No second item exists in your world. That is already a state of liberation. No further liberation has to be granted to you. God need not grant any liberation to you. You are already liberated when you are in that climax state of devotion. So the person who is in that climax state of devotion is a Jivan Mukta, and such a person, upon death and upon attaining an energetic body in the upper world, that person continues in a state of liberation. The same liberation which existed in the human world extends in the energetic world. The status remains the same. That person was a liberated soul on earth. The person remains a liberated soul in the energetic world. That is called Videha Mukti, the continuation of the liberation attained in human form in the upper world. That continuation of it in the upper world is Videha Mukti. So that same love-based love continues. These are the 3 levels of Vasana, Samskara and Guna, which was described earlier. And we have to aim for those 2 higher levels, love-based love. Even if we are not there all the way, at least let us begin with love-based lust. But let us not fall to the level of lust-based love or lust-based lust, because those are beneath the ground. They are like failure grades in your class. At least let us pass. Whether we get a first class or whether we get a first class with distinction, that is okay. If we do not get a first class with distinction, at least get a first class. But definitely do not fail. So this is a quick recap of what we studied last time. And now moving further, we start with the 12th verse. Sadhane loka karyasya syadavashyam hi taddaya tanmumukshordayan dayananta tasya sadhyati bhaktitah. Even to get petty worldly fruits, the grace of God is very essential. In that case, to get the highest fruit called salvation, infinite grace of God is very essentially required. Therefore, the devotion of the soul aspiring to attain salvation must also be very, very high. No task that we try to complete on earth happens merely by our effort. Lord Krishna says that there are five factors that determine the success of any action. And one of them is the grace of God. You may put in the best effort. The situation might be the best situation. The tools that you use to complete that action might be the best tools. All these are external factors. All these are visible, imaginable factors. Despite all those visible, imaginable factors, the fruit need not come. Your actions do not have the capacity to automatically yield the fruit. An important factor, the crucial factor necessary for the fruit is God's grace. That is an unimaginable factor. How your actions, how your limited worldly actions can yield a fruit that is much bigger, much greater, much subtler than your actions is a puzzle. Your mere actions are inert. They cannot bring the fruit on their own unless God's grace supports them. Those external factors of the doer taking the right action in the right situation, using the right tools, all these factors are essential. They are necessary, but they are not sufficient. God's grace makes the whole picture complete. So when you couple those worldly factors with God's grace, then you have a necessary and sufficient set of conditions for the fruit to manifest. So this is the case where the worldly fruit we are talking about is some small worldly fruit. It is like something like, you apply for a job and you get a job. Getting the job is a fruit. It's a worldly fruit. It is a small fruit. Even for such minor, mundane, day-to-day kind of fruits, God's grace is very important. That fifth factor of God's grace is extremely important. When such is the importance of God's grace, how can you say that for the highest salvation, God's grace is not required? By human action alone, it is not possible to get salvation. It is not that the devotee on his or her own steam attains salvation. That is not the case. God's grace is very much necessary, and in fact, the highest grace of God is required. And God is not unfair. He does not randomly give his highest grace to anybody and everybody. He sees the deservingness of the person. He sees the level of spiritual understanding of that person, and he sees the extent to which that spiritual understanding has translated into devotion. He tests the purity of the devotion. He tests the practical proof of that devotion. Only when he is satisfied with all that does he give the highest grace. So you must have the climax of devotion. Its purity must be also topmost. And then his highest grace falls upon you and you get liberated. That is how it works. Next one. Jivan mukta ihaiva syuhu Hanumat-shankaradayah Vasanascha kshayam nitaah tairnirantara bhaktibhihi. There are several souls who attain salvation while they are alive on this earth itself. Such divine souls include Hanuman, Adi Shankara, Shri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Swami Vivekananda, Ramana Maharshi, etc. Such divine souls were always in the state of continuous devotion to God throughout their lives. These divine souls smashed all their worldly thoughts, even while the worldly thoughts were in the very early, weakest state of vasana. So, is it so that the Jivan Mukti or the liberation while being alive, this example or this ideal that is being shown to us, does such a state really exist? Are there people who are in such a state? The answer is yes. There are many examples. We have Hanuman, Adi Shankara, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and so on. These people actually lived on earth and they were in that state. They had attained that state. There was no other thought in their mind except God. They were continuously in the thoughts of God and God alone. They never wanted anything for themselves. They were simply absorbed in devotion to God and service to Him. There was no expectation of getting anything in return. Now, as far as the vasanas are concerned, or these worldly thoughts are concerned, they did not wait for those mental qualities, the worldly qualities or worldly thoughts, to grow in intensity. They nipped their worldly thoughts in the bud. Usually what happens is, a certain worldly thought comes into our mind. When the thought initially comes into our mind, for example, you see a good-looking person, a lustful desire comes in our mind. Or you see a rich person, some thoughts related to money, some greedy thoughts come to our mind. Now, these thoughts initially, when they are born in your mind, they are quite weak. But throughout our lives, we strengthen them. We think about them more and more. Every time you think about those same thoughts, every second that you entertain them in your own mind, they grow in strength, they grow in intensity. Suppose you see the rich man, you develop some greed in your mind, I also should become rich. If you had left it at that, the thought which came in your mind would after some time go away from your mind also. No, but you don't leave that thought. You entertain it further in your mind. You immediately go home, turn on your computer, try to search how to get rich fast. And then the internet is full of so many things good and bad. And then you start thinking about it more and more. Now, then those thoughts become an obsession. So many new ideas of how to get rich quickly. Maybe you play the stock market, maybe you try this, try that. All these ideas come, you keep on experimenting with them. Day and night you are thinking about them. Is that increasing your greed or is that reducing your greed? It is greatly increasing your greed. The idea which came as a weak thought in your mind, by entertaining it, by repeatedly thinking about it, by acting upon those thoughts. See, when the thought came in your mind, immediately you searched the internet. Then you called some stockbroker and you said, I want to meet you. I want to invest some money in the stock market, and so on. You started doing all those things. So you followed up that thought you with action. You repeatedly looked for more and more ways of getting money, and so on. So what happens is that idea, which started off as a very weak thought, has now become an extremely strong thought. And imagine, we keep doing that not once or twice or 10 times. We keep doing these things for our entire life. You can imagine how strong those thoughts become. And further, it is not just that we have done it in this life. We have repeated that behavior in every past life. Thoughts related to lust, thoughts related to greed, thoughts related to blind fascination to our family members. We have strengthened these thoughts so much in each and every birth that they have become hardened like diamonds. A diamond is the hardest natural substance, right? So these thoughts have become so hardened that it is impossible to remove them. On the other hand, we find some extraordinary souls, as listed over here, who did not allow those thoughts, even in that initial stage, to occupy any space in their mind. As soon as worldly thoughts came in their minds, they immediately flushed them away. They did not entertain those thoughts. They did not think about them again and again, which leads to their reinforcement. They never strengthened those thoughts at all. Even in that very early, weakest state of vasana, they eliminated them. In that weakest state of vasana, it is possible to eliminate them. When they get hardened like diamonds, here when I say diamond, we are only comparing the hardness, the quality of hardness. We are not talking about the preciousness, because these thoughts are not precious. They are in fact quite the opposite. They are what ensure that you go to hell. From here, the next destination is hell. This is assured. If you have these hardened worldly thoughts related to lust, related to greed and the other vices, if you have those hardened thoughts, you're certain to go to hell. So these people, they were very wise. They did not allow these thoughts to occupy any space in their mind, even for a second. They immediately flushed them out. They asked, is this thought related to my Lord? Is this thought going to take me closer to my Lord? If not, I don't care about it. See the example of Hanuman, when Sita gave the string of pearls to Hanuman as a gift in appreciation of his service. Hanuman chewed every pearl and opened every pearl and tried to see if Rama is in that pearl. This is symbolic. Of course, Hanuman knew that Rama is not inside a pearl, but he is showing to the world that I am not interested in anything which the world considers to be precious. Pearls and diamonds and jewels and all that, these are considered to be precious by the world. But I am not interested in these things. Is my Rama in that? Is this going to take me closer to Rama? If it is not, then I don't care. It might be worth $1 million. I don't care. I will just throw it away. That was how meticulous these great masters were in prioritizing God over anything worldly. That is why any worldly thought, even if it comes in their mind, it cannot take a root. When you throw some seed on a rocky surface, even if it germinates, it cannot take root because the surface is so hard. So if worldly seeds are thrown on their rock hard devotion, those worldly seeds will not germinate. If they do germinate, they will never be able to strike root in their hardened devotion to God. That is their state. If we can achieve even a fraction of their devotion, at least we can be assured of the next human birth. Like I said, in exceptional cases, God may grant a human birth because He is omnipotent. So we may not be able to achieve what they have achieved. But if we achieve even a fraction of that, perhaps God may say that, okay, this person is trying. Let me grant him one more human birth. This person may still remain on the right track and may grow in devotion. This person has made a little effort. Next birth, that effort may double. The next birth, it may double even further, and so on. So if we make some effort right now, we have some hope. If we do not even make any effort, and if we continue living our lives like animals, engrossed in worldly things, then there is no hope for us. Now, Swami is going to explain three meanings of the word kama. Kama usually means desire, lust, but there are three meanings for it. So Swami says, Trayortha kama shabdasya vancha suratamanmatha vancha baliyasi mohaha sarvabandheshu vidyate. There are three meanings for the word kama. The first is general desire. The second is sexual desire. And the third is angel Cupid, who is the deity of sex. Desire, when it becomes very strong, is called fascination. This general fascination exists in every worldly bond. Lust is nothing but the fascination for sex in the spouse bond or an illegal darling bond. So there are three meanings for kama. Kama can just mean desire. You have a desire for anything. Maybe you have a desire for good food, or you have a desire to have a nice home. It's a general desire. So that can also be expressed by the word kama in Sanskrit. Specifically, kama means sexual desire. And Kama is also the name, it's the proper noun for angel Cupid, Kamadeva. Kamadeva is the deity of sex. So these three meanings are given for the word Kama. Then what is Moha? Moha, or fascination, is desire which is intensified. So when any desire becomes intensified, when it becomes very strong, it is the same kama is called moha. So such general fascination exists in every worldly bond. What is when we say you have a putra moha, what is putra moha? You like your child, or you love your child, that is fine. But you love your child excessively. So that excessive love is moha, to the point that you are blind to the defects of your child. Loving your child is okay. God has given that love for you. He has hardwired it into your system. Every father or mother, by instinct, by God-given instinct, loves their child. That is how it should be also. If you don't love your child, who will protect your child? So God has given that desire for your child for a good reason, so that you may protect your child. You may ensure that all the child's needs are met, that good upbringing is given to the child. For that purpose, God has instinctively given a love for your child. But that becomes excessive. We don't know where to stop. We blindly keep on loving the child. The child has some value in your life, as much as God has given. Let us say the value of your child in your life is 100 units. But you love your child to the extent of 200 units. that additional 100 units of love that you have for your child is excessive. It is unnecessary. In fact, it is spoiling your child. If the child has some defects, you should be able to see those defects and you should be able to correct those defects. But we have such excessive love for our child that we never see the defects. If someone points out the defects, we will go and fight with that person. How dare you say something about my child? So that excess of love, excess of desire. Kama is desire or love in a casual sense, not in the sense of pure love. Pure love is different. So that general desire, when it becomes excessive, it becomes moha. So now your general desire for your child has become moha. That is called a strong fascination. You have a fascination for your child. So also with all worldly relationships. Every worldly relationship has its own utility, has its own function. And in order for you to carry out that function, God has given you some desire for that particular worldly relative. Up to that extent, it is okay. In a worldly context where God does not come into the picture, your love for your relatives is acceptable. But it should stay within the boundaries of that relationship. When it becomes excessive, when it becomes blind, where you stop seeing the defects and where you start giving priority to that worldly relationship over and above the relationship with God, that is where it gets harmful. So that this is the relation between kama and moha. Now, what is lust? Lust is nothing but the fascination for sex in the spouse bond or an illegal darling bond. So we saw that one of the meanings of kama is sexual desire. So that sexual desire or lust is the fascination. It is the excessive fascination, excessive sexual desire in the spouse bond or an illegal darling bond. Now, Swami is going to explain the 7 vital tissues in Ayurveda and the connection of those various tissues with our sexual desire, and also the connection of our health, maintaining our health in this context. So Swami says, Charamam saptadhatunam annasarānurūpinām Shukramojastato jatam pranashaktiritiiritam. The digested essence of food is transformed into 7 vital tissues. What are the 7 vital tissues? They are plasma, blood, muscles, fat, bones, bone marrow, and the reproductive fluid called shukram. Shukram generates the ovum in females and sperm in males. The 7th tissue, which is shukram, generates the final 8th item called ojas, which is the vital energy of the total life of the body. So among them, these 7 are physical, and ojas is the vital energy. It is the let me say, it is the radiance which is even visible on a person who has utilized these 7 vital components of the body in a perfect way without any wastage. If the person has managed all these vital components in a perfect way with 0 wastage, then such a person exhibits excellent health and also exhibits a visible radiance on his or her face. So that is ojas. So what are these 7 vital tissues? You have, so the idea is that you consume food, the food gets digested, the digested food is absorbed by your blood. So that blood plasma in which all the nutrients are absorbed, that is the rasa, then that in turn leads to the production of blood, because all the nutrients are necessary even to produce more blood. Nutrients are necessary. They are obtained from your digestion. So from the digestion, from your digestive system, the nutrients are absorbed in the form of rasa, and then that produces blood, gets converted into muscles, which in turn converts to fat and bones and bone marrow, and finally the reproductive fluid. That reproductive fluid, or shukram, in females it forms the ovum or the egg cell, and in males it forms sperm cells. And that if the shukram is preserved, if the shukram is not wasted, the reproductive fluid is not wasted, it enhances the ojas, which is that vital energy of the body. So Swami continues, he says, Mano buddhyo pratishtatvam, Mano buddhyo pratishtatvam, Indriyanancha nigrahe, Purnarogyam para prapti, Sadhanasya balam dishet. The mind and intelligence become very strong if the senses are controlled. This is called total good health. Such good health will give super strength to the spiritual efforts made by a soul to attain God. So when I mentioned that all these vital elements of the body, they will be properly, if they are properly managed, your ojas will increase. If there's no wastage of them, then you will get good health. It all starts from the mind and intelligence. If your mind and intelligence are controlled, the senses are controlled. If the mind and intelligence are controlled by divine knowledge of God, if the intelligence always seeks the divine knowledge of God, it will control the mind. When the mind is controlled, the senses remain under control. The mind will be filled with the love for God rather than love for worldly items, in which case the senses get controlled. The senses are always turned outward. They always seek sense objects, worldly sense objects. But if your mind is absorbed in God, the mind will not go after these senses. Your senses may demand satisfaction through worldly sense objects, but the mind will not give importance to it. The mind will say, what is the need? I am happy with God. I don't need these things. Whatever is necessary to sustain the body, that much is enough for me. So why does the mind say that? Because through the intellect, the mind has realized, or the person has realized through the intellect, that God is the most precious. So the mind has developed love towards God. Mind is the emotional part. When the intellect realizes that God is the greatest, the emotional mind fills with emotion for God, fills with the emotion of love towards God. And when the mind is filled with the emotion of love towards God, it has no space to entertain all the petty enjoyment that is coming through the senses. The senses are craving for some worldly object. And then the mind tells them, oh, all this, I'm not interested in all these nonsense things. These are cheap things. I'm interested in the greatest, most precious God. So when the senses are controlled, the vital energy of the body is preserved. And that gives super strength to the body. And then the body becomes an instrument to carry out your spiritual efforts to attain God. Because in attaining God, a lot of spiritual effort, practical spiritual effort is necessary. That is not possible if you do not have good health. Good health is a prerequisite even for the spiritual effort. So your body will remain healthy. The starting point is how to make that body healthy. The starting point is the intelligence should be engaged in the knowledge of God. The mind should be engaged in the devotion to God. Then the mind will not be distracted towards the senses. The senses will be controlled. The body will remain healthy. Vital energy is preserved. When the vital energy is preserved, the body will remain healthy. And then the body can be dedicated towards practical spiritual efforts, which will yield the final fruit. I think the slide is stuck. I'll try to share it again. Yes, it's here again. Next one. Shraddhatu sara shukrasya pranadojas surakshitam ojasa shaktiman kartum laukyam karmadhidaivikam. If you protect the seventh tissue, shukram, which contains the essence of all the preceding 6 tissues, the 8th wonderful product called ojas gets well protected. It gives stamina to the soul for doing worldly work as well as spiritual work. The soul becomes fully potent to succeed in its worldly efforts as well as spiritual efforts. So when I spoke about the management of all these 7 vital tissues, one of the most important factors of managing them properly is preserving the 7th one. Shukram, which is the reproductive fluid, that is the product of, or let me say, it is the end product which involves all the previous 6 items. Each of the 6 items ultimately yield the one leading to the other, like A causes B, B causes C, C causes D, and so on. So plasma leads to blood, blood leads to muscles, muscles lead to fat, fat to bone, bone to marrow, and so on. And finally, you get shukram. So the shukram, if that is wasted, you are essentially wasting all the other 7. The wastage of shukram is the mismanagement of all the other, all 7. Essentially, it is the wastage of all 7. If you waste one, it is the wastage of all. And if you waste all of them, then ultimately your health goes down. If your health goes down, you will neither succeed in worldly activities nor in spiritual activities. On the other hand, if you manage all of these well, ensuring that there is no wastage, specifically, if you do not waste the reproductive fluid by not indulging in sex or masturbation, then when shukram is protected, all the others are protected because they are the raw material for shukram. So that leads to overall good health. And good health is necessary for worldly life as well as spiritual life. So then that preserved shukram, the preserved shukram leads to that ojas. So what you see over here is 7 items. The 8th item, which is ojas, is the result of the prevention of wastage of all of these. Ojas is obtained when all these 7 are preserved. Ojas is the 8th. So you will have plenty of ojas if you have not wasted these 7. And you will have plenty of these if you don't waste, particularly when you don't waste the 7th one, the other 6 are conserved also. Okay. Putra prapte param vana prastham dampatya bandhanam bhratrubandhena sambaddham muninam purvajivinam. As soon as issues are born to a couple in grahastha-shrama, the bond between the couple immediately changes from the nature of grahastha-shrama to the nature of vanaprastha-shrama. In vanaprastha-shrama, the husband and wife behave like brother and sister with full focus on God alone. This was the most sacred tradition followed by the sages who lived in this country in ancient times. Now, one may ask as to if we have to preserve Shukram, if we have to manage all those 7 vital components of the body properly without any wastage, and one of the most powerful ways of doing that is to avoid the wastage of Shukram, which is the reproductive fluid. So it means that we should not have sex. But we are married. Why should we not have sex? So here the life of the ancient sages is shown to us. The sages also had children. So obviously they had sex. The couples initially when they got married, they had sex. They had children. But once they had children, now their duty to God is fulfilled. Their duty to God to continue the human race has been fulfilled. It is said in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Shikshavalli, the guru, when at the time when the student graduates, the guru gives a set of rules, a set of guidelines to be followed by the disciple in their life. And one among them is, he says that go back to your family and you get married and you produce children. Don't avoid this divine duty. He says, Prajatantum ma vyavachetsi. He says, don't avoid this duty of continuing the human race. That is the advice that the guru gives to all disciples. So when they get married, when in ancient times, when people would get married, particularly the sages, because the sages are examples of ideal behavior. Even in ancient times, in society, every common man need not be an example of ideal behavior. Even in ancient times, some wicked people existed. So we should look at only the sages as examples of ideal behavior. So the sages, after their education is completed, that is the phase of brahmacharya, the stage of brahmacharya in life, when that is completed, they go back to their families. The education is completed in the guru's ashrama. And after that education is completed, they are sent back. The guru sends them back to their families. So they go back to their families. Then their parents look for a suitable spouse for them, get them married. They have children. And once the children are born, they have fulfilled the duty given by the guru, given by the Veda to them to continue the human race. That is fulfilled. Now further indulgence in sex is not required. So then they lead a life of austerity. What is austerity? Austerity is keeping the mind focused on God. Austerity does not mean that you don't eat food. You stand in the hot sun and even during rain and storms, and you stand outside the house and just repeating some mantra. That is not what tapas or penance or austerity means. They engage their mind only in God. The worldly enjoyment is not of concern to them. Today, what happens when a couple gets married, there is that honeymoon period, the literal honeymoon, and few years where they are just imagining so many things, that we'll do these things together, and we will have such a nice house, and then we will decorate it like this, and we will have the interior decorator, and then this is the children's room, and this is the paint that we will apply, this color paint for our children. That kind of thinking did not exist in those days at all. This is the thinking of Kali Yuga. They only, upon doing their duty, obviously they were very concerned about the good upbringing of their children. But the good upbringing of children did not mean that what toys and what games and should be given to the children and which international school to put them in. That was not a concern. The concern was, can we imbibe or can we encourage our children to turn to God? That was the focus. So having fulfilled their duty of giving birth to children and then raising those children in such a way that the children are motivated to walk on the path of God, having done that, their worldly duties are over. The sage is never obsessed about, I should have one house in Bangalore, one house in another apartment in Bombay, and then some extra land just for the sake of its savings. They were not interested in those things. They were interested, all their investments. One beautiful statement that Lord Jesus says. He says, build your riches in heaven. Don't accumulate riches on earth, because everything is going to be lost. You invest in your spiritual life. Don't invest in this materialistic life, because nothing is going to remain. Even if you are a millionaire, even one naya paisa cannot be transferred to the upper world. So these sages, they were not interested in materialistic life. Whatever wealth, in fact, they had, they were not interested in saving and hoarding that wealth. They were interested in sacrificing that wealth to God, to their Satguru. Wealth was important to them. But for what purpose? To sacrifice it to the Sadguru. That was their mentality. So these sages, once they had children, once they raised the children have gone to the Guru's ashrama. After some years, the children come back home. They get their children married. Now their duty is over. Once the duty is over, now they would not cling on to that worldly life, that materialistic life. When my son has got married, now the bride has come, now they will have children, and then we will raise those children, and then we will look for getting them married. That is an endless loop. Sages were not interested in this. Worldly people are interested in these things. The sages, they would proceed to Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha, they would go to the forest. In fact, many of the sages, even the forest, but they would detach themselves from worldly life, and they would engage only in devotional spiritual activities. And in that life of devotional spiritual activities, the romantic life between the husband and wife has no place. The romance is important. It had its place to give birth to children, but that has already happened. And now the children are they are grown up and they are on a nice track. They are managing their own worldly life, and they are also turned towards God. In due time, they will also reach God. So why should we worry about that? Let us worry about this human life that we have got. So saying, the husband and wife, the sage and his wife, they would focus their minds on devotion to God. Now, a good amount of love existed between husband and wife, but it was not a sexual kind of love, because the purpose of sex was over by then. Now, this is very hard for us to even imagine. Forget about practicing it. It's very hard for us to even imagine this. But this was actually followed, this practice was followed by the sages of ancient times. Not just one or two sages, but this was the norm. See, you will just one kind of hint. Many of the sages had very few children. Now, in those days, these family planning, contraceptives and all that were not available. If they were engaging in regular sex, they would have had many children. Some sages had many children, but there were so many others who did not have many children. And the main reason for that was abstinence. They did not have regular sex. Once they have produced children, as many as required according to God's will, as many children were to be born to them. Once that is done, that's it. The account is closed. So this was the tradition of the sages. Now in Kali Yuga, we find that impossible to believe. But this is the land that we were born in. So, okay, I'll pause over here and hand over to Suryaji. Pada Namaskaram, Swamiji.
Namaskaram, Swami. First, I will share the PPT. Just 1 minute. I hope it is visible.
Yes, sir.
Just 1 minute. So we have covered this is the 11th chapter. The association of the inquiry about the attainment of salvation. And we have completed the first 11 verses. So I will start from the 12th verse. Okay. I hope it is visible. No?
Yes, sir.
Okay. साधने लोककार्यस्य स्यादवश्यं हि तद्दया तन्मुमुक्षोर्दयानन्त तस्य साध्याति भक्तितः. Meaning, even to meaning by Swami, even to get petty worldly fruits, the grace of God is very essential. In that case, to get the highest fruit called salvation, infinite grace of God is very, very essentially required. Therefore, the devotion of the soul aspiring to attain salvation must also be very high. The next verse. Jivan mukta ihai vasyuhu hanumat sankaradayaha vasanascha kshayam nitaha tairnirantara bhaktibihi. Meaning by Swami, there are several souls who attain salvation while they are alive on this earth itself. Such divine souls include Hanuman, Adi Shankara, Shri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Swami Vivekananda, Ravana Maharshi, etc. Such divine souls were always in the state of continuous devotion to God throughout their lives. These divine souls smashed all their worldly thoughts even while the worldly thoughts were in the very early weakest state of vasana. Next verse. Trayortha kama sabdasya vancha surata manmatha vancha baliyasi mohaha sarva bandheshu vidyate. Meaning by Swami, there are three meanings for the word kama. First is general desire. Second, sexual desire. Third, angel Cupid, who is the deity of sex. Desire, when it becomes very strong, is called fascination. This general fascination exists in every worldly bond. Lust is nothing but the fascination for sex in the spouse bond or in an illegal darling bond. Next verse. Charamam saptadhatunam annasaranu rupinam sukramojas tato jatam pranashakti ritiritam. Meaning by Swami, the digested essence of food is transformed into 7 vital issues. Those are plasma, blood, muscles, fat, bones, bone marrow, and the reproductive fluid called sukram. This sukram generates the ovum in females and sperm in males. The 7th tissue, that is sukram, generates the final 8th item called ojas, which is the vital energy of the total life of the body. The next verse. Mano buddhyo pratishtatvam indriyanancha nigrahe purnarogyam para prapti sadhanasya balam diset. Meaning by Swami, the mind and intelligence become very strong if the senses are controlled. This is called total good health. Such good health will give super strength to the spiritual efforts made by a soul to attain God. Here there is a pictorial representation of this. The sequential transformation of the 8 senses, that is dhatus. So first food is taken, that is ahara, and that gets digested, and that ahara rasa, that will lead to the first rasam, that is the plasma. Second is it leads to rakta, that is blood. Then like mamsa, that is the flesh. Then meda, then asti, bone. Then majja, like it leads to then sukram. So this sukram in females it generates ova, and the same in males it is sperm. If they are not used in that, then it will lead to the ojas, that is like a vital energy and immunity. So the next verse, Shadhatu Sarasukrasya Pranadojas Surakshitam Ojasa Siktiman Kartum Lokyam Karmadhi Daivikam. Meaning by Swami, if you protect the 7th tissue, that is Sukram, which contains the essence of all the preceding 6 tissues, the 8th wonderful product called Ojas gets well protected. It gives stamina to the soul for doing worldly work as well as the spiritual work. The soul becomes fully potent to succeed in its worldly efforts as well as spiritual efforts. So you see that picture here, the plasma then leading to blood, leading to muscles, fat, and then lead to bones, and then lead to bone marrow, and the final sukram. That is the 7th tissue. Then next verse. Putra prapte param vanaprastham dampatya bandhanam भ्रातृबन्धेन सम्बद्धं मुनीनां पूर्वजीविनाम्. Meaning by Swami, as soon as issues are born, as soon as issues are born to a couple in Grihastha-ashrama, the bond between the couple immediately changes from the nature of Grihastha-ashrama to the nature of Vanaprastha-ashrama. In Vanaprastha-ashrama, the husband and wife behave like brother and sister with full focus on God alone. This was the most sacred tradition followed by the sages who lived in this country in ancient times. So with this we will start we'll stop this Radha Krishna Gita and we'll proceed with some question answers. I'm just sharing the document. So we are going through this set of question answers on May 1st, 2025, and we have covered the first 10 questions. So we will start from the 11th question. These were all asked by Miss Trailokya. And now we will move on to the 11th question. What is to be learnt from Shiva crying for Sati and Rama for Sita? The detailed question is, what should we learn from God Shiva crying for Sati and God Rama crying for Sita? Did they suffer in separation just for the sake of rasa, that is divine entertainment only, which is the aim of creating this creation by God? Swami replied, for God, entertainment is continuous in any situation, but the need of the context is also important. God is preaching love between the soul and its spouse for the sake of a good family life, which is important for pravritti. God never preaches nivritti. The devotee gets natural interest in nivritti who is helped by God after testing his or her confirmed interest in God. And the next question is also by her. What is to be learnt from the following actions of Lord Venkateshwara? God Venkateshwara married twice and also took loan to get married in a grandeur manner. What are the lessons to be learnt from these actions of God in the angle of pravritti and nivritti? Swami replied, all this is about pravritti only. One can take a loan to perform an important function like marriage, but the story tells that God Venkateshwara could not pay the capital at all so far because he is continuously paying the interest only. By this, God teaches that you should not take heavy loans and suffer by paying the interest continuously. In this point, even God did a mistake, and hence we need not talk about the ordinary human beings. The mistake of God is not real, which is only for the sake of teaching a good moral. Regarding the married life of God, I have already told you that God is an absolute salvage and always maintains purity. God will enjoy only with the embodiment of his own power, that is Goddess Mahalakshmi, who is kept in his heart. And for the case of other devotees like Padmavati, Bibi Nanchari, Goda Devi, etc., he creates illusory forms of himself to satisfy other devotees in order to encourage them in the spiritual path or nivritti. We have already seen the same divine technology in the case of God Krishna, who danced with thousands of gopikas at once by creating thousands of unreal forms of himself. God Venkateshwara is God Krishna only. God Venkateshwara's mother, Vakula Devi, is none other than Yashoda, who did not get the opportunity to perform the marriage ceremony for her son, God Krishna, in her previous life. God is always one, and his policy of devotional justice is always one. So now, with this, question answer are completed. Now we will move on to the May 13, 2025. There was a divine satsanga on 4th May, and these were circulated on May 13th. So we will see the first question. This is by Sri Fani Kumar. Please explain the entire background of the psychology of Lord Rama, which is diagonally opposite to the psychology of Lord Krishna. Swami replied, the time gap between Lord Rama and Lord Krishna was about 2 yugas. In this time gap, the fall of justice was tremendous. The time of Rama was the beginning of Treta Yuga, which is almost Kruta Yuga. The time of Krishna was the end of Dwapara Yuga, which is almost Kali Yuga. Kruta Yuga was completely filled with good qualities, and Kali Yuga is completely filled with bad qualities. This can be illustrated by a practical example. Sages came to Lord Rama and offered to hug Rama by transforming into female forms with the help of their power of penance. It is not the complete birth of a soul as the female. It is almost like a male in the dress of a female and role of a female in the drama. Even this was treated as a bad quality by God Rama. Excellent. It means that there is no trace of deviation from a good quality. God Rama refused such hug of sages also. The sages thought that they have defeated all the worldly bonds before God except the bond with the spouse. By this type of hug offered by them to God Rama, they thought that they can defeat the bond with the spouse for the sake of God. But the atmosphere in the time of Rama did not allow this also, treating it as the bad quality. Rama told them to be born as Gopikas in the future, in the time of Krishna, so that all the three strongest tests with the three strongest worldly bonds can be completed to give them the certificate of salvation from all the worldly bonds. In fact, the strongest worldly bond among these worldly bonds is the joint bond with children and wealth. That is Putreshana and Dhaneshana. The weakest bond is with the spouse, which alone has the facilities of divorce and remarriage. The sages thought that this joint bond is the weakest and the bond with the spouse is the strongest. Here itself, the sages slipped from the true concept. They realized this truth only when they were born as Gopikas in the time of Krishna. All the Gopikas went to Vrindavanam to dance with Krishna very easily, breaking the bond with the spouse. When Krishna stole the butter, that is their wealth, preserved for their children, almost all the Gopikas went and complained to his mother, Yashoda. This means that almost all the Gopikas failed in the test of joint bond with the children and wealth, whereas all of them passed in the test of spouse bond. The fantastic point here is that all this happened while all Gopikas knew that Krishna is the ultimate God. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Coming to the era of God Krishna, all souls were completely filled with bad qualities. God Krishna is like the government, and for the sake of facility of administration of the changed surrounding atmosphere, the divine constitution has to be amended. If you say that people having bad qualities will certainly go to hell, as per the divine constitution, the souls will be frustrated since they can't change their strongest bad qualities into good qualities. If you say that a murderer will certainly be hanged to death after 20 days, the criminal will commit 20 murders in 20 days. The logic of his brain will be that even if he commits any number of murders or do not commit any murder, after 20 days he will certainly be killed. With this psychology, souls having the strongest bad qualities of demonic nature will be spoiled and will create havoc in this world. Hence, God Krishna had to modify the divine constitution to protect this world, bringing peace. Even now, the governments amend the constitutions as per the changed atmosphere of the public, and such a right is provided in the constitution itself. Therefore, God Krishna prepared a highway road from hell to Goloka. This is a special road extended on both sides because Goloka is above Brahmaloka, that is the abode of God, and hell is a lower subworld in view of its status. God said that one need not change the unchangeable bad qualities anymore, and the soul can divert its bad qualities towards God. Any quality is considered to be good or bad by the direction of quality. If a quality is diverted to God, that is nivrutti, it is a good quality. And if a quality is diverted to the world, that is pravrutti, it is a bad quality. By this policy, the soul will be controlled from the influence of bad qualities to a great extent, and this will very much contribute to the peace of the world. There are three stages. First, maintaining good qualities. Second, controlling bad qualities. Third, diverting uncontrollable bad qualities towards God. As the time advances from Kruta Yuga to Treta Yuga to Dwapara Yuga and to Kali Yuga, these three stages appeared gradually. Hence, at the time of God Krishna, the third stage was very much predominant. In the time of God Krishna, we find three types of devotees belonging to these above mentioned three stages. First, wives of sages who went to God Krishna along with the cooked food, violating the rules of sacrifice, and they wanted to remain with Krishna. They and their husbands belong to the first type, who were with good qualities. Hence, Krishna told the wives of the sages to go back to their husbands, assuring good treatment to them from the sages. Second, the 16,000 daughters of kings who loved Krishna and were imprisoned by King Narakasura because they were not willing to marry anyone in the caste of Kshatriyas except Krishna. When they were released by Krishna, they threatened Krishna that they will commit suicide if he does not marry them. They belong to the second type, who controlled their bad qualities and prayed God to marry them. They maintained the legality, that is justice, of the sexual life through marriage, and Krishna was obliged to them. Third, Gopikas who were married and were having children. They should not cross the justice by leaving husband and children, but all worldly bonds, including the justified worldly bonds, should be broken for the sake of God to get salvation, that is moksha, from all the worldly bonds. Even though crossing the justice is a tremendous bad quality, it is not bad when justice competes with God, in which case God has to be voted and not the justice that is to be protected by God. In fact, these gopikas were those sages born with illegal bad quality to demonstrate the way to the souls having bad qualities. For the sake of these gopikas, God Krishna created multiple illusory forms of himself who appear and behave exactly like him. No human eye can catch the distinct illusory Krishnas apart from the real form of Krishna. And this is the most unimaginable, omnipotent power of God called Mahamaya. We need not be worried with the illusory because this entire creation, which is inherently unreal, is also illusory only. What I mean is that the gopikas were not cheated by God Krishna, since gopikas themselves, including their past forms as sages, are part of the world and are illusory only to God. Moreover, the medium of real form of God Krishna, which is also a part of the world, is also illusory only. Why a devotee shall weep that gopikas were cheated without understanding the original clue of spiritual knowledge? You may argue that the original form of Krishna has the God component, whereas other forms are without the God component. This God component is the unimaginable God, that is Parabrahman, whose nature is not known by anybody, and only his existence can be known by anybody. Astityeva upalabdhavyaha. Astityeva upalabdhavyaha. Only unimaginable God knows the nature of himself. Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. And the knowledge of his existence alone can be attained by any soul in this creation. Only Parabrahman knows about himself and not even his medium, which is a part of the creation and has spatial dimensions. The reason is that even if the medium knows the nature of Parabrahman, the medium cannot explain it to any other soul. When there is no use, why should we assume that the medium knows? The medium is also made of nature, that is the Prakriti of this world only, and has limitations of spatial dimensions of normal capacity. If you insist that the medium of God knows the nature of God, even then we can assume that the medium does not know, since it cannot explain to us. Therefore, this point is completely irrelevant with reference to any soul. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa told that even the highest soul, sage Shuka, is still traveling in the infinite empty space, Mahasunyam, and is unable to reach the unimaginable God. Therefore, the the mediated unimaginable God alone is our ultimate goal, which is called as Saguna Brahman, from whose medium we are experiencing the creation having spatial dimensions. The medium is a part of the creation. That is the medium in which God is existing. Is the human form. He is part of the creation, which alone is seen by us, and through which we can experience the unimaginable God through his unimaginable events called miracles. Hence, don't bring the unimaginable God whose nature cannot be experienced except his existence only into this picture and get confused to weep about Gopikas. God Brahma told that the real celibate Askhalita Brahmachari in this creation is God Krishna, who is having 16,108 wives and had illegal affairs with 1,000 Gopikas. About this point only, King Parikshit also questioned sage Shuka. With the help of illusory Krishnas created by God Krishna, we can explain about all the wives and all the Gopikas. What about Rukmini, who is the inherent power of God Krishna, that is God Vishnu, as Goddess Mahalakshmi? What about Radha, who is the incarnation of God Shiva, who is God Vishnu or Krishna himself? Here, there is no real dualism between Krishna and Rukmini or Radha. Real form of Krishna happens to be with Radha and Rukmini, since there is only internal monism here. Hence, such happiness obtained by the unimaginable God from the sexual union with his own power is equal to the happiness obtained from himself, just like in the case of Adi Shankara, who did not marry at all and obtained bliss from his own self. But when we see energetic incarnations of God like Datta, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, we find their wives Anagha, Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Parvati, who are their inherent powers only, appearing as separate personalities. The bliss obtained by these original forms of God is the same self-bliss experienced by Adi Shankara, because there is real monism between the couples here also. Hence, God Krishna is a real celibate like God Rama. Therefore, the word of God Brahma that God Krishna is the real celibate is the ultimate truth. If the complicated God Krishna is understood, simple Rama can be very easily understood. Now comes the question that when Rama had only Sita, why did Krishna have both Radha and Rukmini? Even Rama and Hanuman, who was the incarnation of God Shiva, even Rama had Hanuman, who was the incarnation of God Shiva, but in male form. The time of Rama allowed only one wife, and hence Hanuman had to be male. In the time of Krishna, the policy of polygamy was allowed for kings, Rajano Bahuvallabhaha. And Krishna was the king of Dwaraka city. Even then, God Krishna did not use the facility of polygamy because he is always a real celibate by creating illusory Krishnas. Then, why did he require both Radha and Rukmini as wives? Sorry. In fact, Radha married Krishna in the presence of God Brahma as a priest in a garden present between the two villages of Krishna and Radha. Rukmini was required to manage the 16,108 wives of Krishna. And it is noteworthy to know that all of them were married wives like Rukmini. Radha was required for the sake of managing 1,000 gopikas who showed their rebel nature by breaking their justified spouse bonds for the sake of God. Since gopikas were the sages doing penance for millions of births, they could develop such a daring nature for the sake of God, which is impossible for any ordinary human soul. God Shiva has such a masculine, daring nature. If you see the nature of Radha, she did not touch the newly married husband Ayanagosha and remarried Krishna. She became an example for gopikas by this most daring jump over justice, and hence she was selected as their leader. Radha is far greater than gopikas who could not reject their husbands and remarry Krishna. Even then, Radha stands in the first place because she did not touch her married husband for the sake of her beloved God Krishna. Gopikas were having husbands and children in this brave path. Rukmini, the embodiment of Sattvam quality, is incapable even to become a member of this rebel path, not to speak of becoming a leader. The ferocious path exactly represents the stage of the present Kali Yuga. God paved the road from hell to Goloka, which is suitable to this Kali Yuga. By introducing this new path to reach God for souls having bad qualities, the souls are pacified and controlled their criminal nature of bad qualities so that the peace of the world can be maintained. God showed Goloka as greater than even his abode so that these daring souls will have greater satisfaction than the previous souls of the time of Rama. So it's 8 o'clock. So I will stop here for Bhaktanga. Tomorrow we can revisit.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaste.
Father Namaskaram Swami.
Namaste.
Shall we start the bhajans?
Yes.
Yes, Swami. Okay, Swami.
किमस्ति दत्ते कमले विमुक्तशीले विमले
किमस्ति दत्ते कमले विमुक्तशीले विमले
वर्षसहस्रं महर्षिलोके सरसीकूले निरीक्षमाणे आलिङ्गितोऽयं दिगम्बराङ्ग्य साक्षात् ददृशे दिगम्बराङ्गः
किमस्ति दत्ते कमले विमुक्तशीले विमले
यस्मिन् दृष्टे विच्छिद्यन्ते सर्वे बन्धाः सुतपतिरूपाः तदेकबन्धात् सर्वविमुक्तिः स्वार्थं पश्य प्रभुता ह्येवम्
किमस्ति दत्ते कमले विमुक्तशीले विमले
एकान्तन्नः साधकयोग्यं समुपदिशन् यो वेदान्तार्थैः मुच्यति स हि नव रासविलासी बृन्दावनभुवि गोपीवृन्दैः
किमस्ति दत्ते कमले विमुक्तशीले विमले
किमस्ति दत्ते कमले
विमुक्तशीले विमले
मूषिकन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल धौतदन्तायते चारुनृत्यायते विघ्नराजायते श्रीपार्वती प्राणपुत्राय वन्दनम् सिद्धिबुद्धि प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् दक्षक्रतुन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोलतीक्ष्णखड्गायते श्मश्रुवक्त्रायते वीरभद्रायते श्रीकालिका प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् श्रीकालिका प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् क्रौञ्चाचलन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल शक्तिभल्लायते षण्मुखाब्जायते तारकान्तायते वल्लीश्वरी प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् वल्लीश्वरी प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् श्रीशैलविन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल कालशूलायते फालनेत्रायते भस्मवक्त्रायते भ्रमराम्बिका प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् भ्रमराम्बिका प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् शबरिगिरिन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल मन्त्रमालायते हरिहरांशायते सुमणिकण्ठायते श्रीमोहिनी प्राणपुत्राय वन्दनम् श्रीमोहिनी प्राणपुत्राय वन्दनम् सप्तशैलन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल केळिपद्मायते पद्मनेत्रायते पद्मवक्त्रायते पद्मासति प्राणनाथाय वन्दनं पद्मावती प्राणनाथाय वन्दनं प्राचेदिशिन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल शुक्लवेदायते अरुणबिम्बायते सूर्यदेवायते छायासति प्राणनाथाय वन्दनं छायासति प्राणनाथाय वन्दनं गोवर्धनन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल चक्रवेगायते मकुटपिञ्छायते मधुरवंशायते राधासती प्राणनाथाय वन्दनं राधासती प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् साकेतविन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल चारुचापायते सत्यवाक्यायते धर्मरूपायते सीतासती प्राणनाथाय वन्दनं सीतासती प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् आकाशविन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल भूरिशैलायते रामकार्यायते भीमवीर्यायते सुवर्चला प्राणनाथाय वन्दनं सुवर्चला प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् यज्ञान्तरन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल होमपात्रायते सप्तजिह्वायते द्रव्यवाहायते स्वाहासति प्राणनाथाय वन्दनं स्वाहासति प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् ऐरावतन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल हेतिवज्रायते स्वर्गनाथायते देवराजायते शचीसती प्राणनाथाय वन्दनं शचीसती प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् क्षीरार्णवन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल नागपाशायते विष्णुतल्पायते शेषदेवायते नागेश्वरी प्राणनाथाय वन्दनं नागेश्वरी प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् वैकुण्ठविन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल पूर्णकुम्भायते विष्णुवाहायते गरुडराजायते विनताम्बिका प्राणपुत्राय वन्दनं विनताम्बिका प्राणपुत्राय वन्दनम् ब्रह्माण्डविन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल कालपाशायते दत्त तदूतायते भैरवाख्यायते माया सती प्राणनाथाय वन्दनं माया सती प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् सह्यशैलन्यस्त पादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल बीजमालायते अरुणवस्त्रायते योगिराजायते अनघासति प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् अनघासति प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् अनघासति प्राणनाथाय वन्दनम् विजयपुरिन्यस्तपादपद्मायते वामहस्तालोल वेदशास्त्रायते ज्ञानसूर्यायते दत्तरूपायते श्रीवेणुगोपालकृष्णाय वन्दनम् श्रीवेणुगोपालकृष्णाय वन्दनम्
वेदनायक दत्त पादमाश्रये आश्रितप्राणिनां सज्जः खादिताखिलखेदं ज्ञानप्रदानेन हृदयमेदुरितमोदं न्यासमात्रेणैव नाशितनास्तिकवादं नखकान्तिकिरणैः अनाद्यविद्याभेदं वेदनायक दत्त पादमाश्रये वेदनायक दत्त पादमाश्रये वेदनायक दत्त पादमाश्रये याचे श्रीरामं तवास्मीति याचे श्रीरामं श्रीरामं रघुरामं कल्याणरामं पट्टाभिरामं पावनरामं याचे श्रीरामं तवास्मीति याचे श्रीरामं शरणं भव शरणं भव शरणं भव श्रीराम करुणां कुरु करुणां कुरु करुणां कुरु रघुराम याचे श्रीरामं तवास्मीति याचे श्रीरामं तनुविजितकामं हतदितिजस्तोमं नवजलदश्यामं मैथिलीवामं याचे श्रीरामं तवास्मीति याचे श्रीरामं हनुमदर्चितं भरतपूजितं लक्ष्मणवन्दितं शत्रुघ्नसत्कृतं सीतासेवितं याचे श्रीरामं तवास्मीति याचे श्रीरामं दशरथात्मजं विपुलाक्षिवारिजं एकशिरीमुख हतदशमुखभाजं याचे श्रीरामं तवास्मीति याचे श्रीरामं हंसारोपितदिव्यशर्ङ्गकोदण्डं आत्मनव्याप्तचराचरजगदण्डं याचे श्रीरामं तवास्मीति याचे श्रीरामं गौतमसती शिलाशाप विमोचनं शान्तविलोकनान्त करुणामृतसेचनं याचे श्रीरामं तवास्मीति याचे श्रीरामं बालशरदाम्भोधरांशुरोचनं स्फुरत्तरुणमीनायतविलोचनं याचे श्रीरामं तवास्मीति याचे श्रीरामं
I tell you, if I say that I am not the Lord, you will say that I am the Lord. If I say that I am the Lord, you will say that I am not the Lord. If I don't love, I am a stone for you. If I love you, you tell me to go. If you like me to be with me always, you have to cut all the bonds. Impossible, O Partha, this is impossible. Impossible, O Partha, this is impossible. How should I tell you, O Partha? How should I tell you? How should I tell you, O Partha? How should I tell you? I came to uplift the justice. I sing this Gita to teach you. Love with service is the only way. Be with me with lovely service. To love and serve human form is best. Narayana came down as a Krishna. Human form can only preach. To know human form is divine knowledge. Divine knowledge, O Partha, this is a divine knowledge. Divine knowledge, O Partha, this is a divine knowledge. How should I tell you, O Partha, how should I tell you? Two obstacle walls oppose you here. Egoism and jealousy are the walls. Human body repels human body. Therefore you reject my human form. Realize you are not the human body. You are the soul, that is the pure awareness. Why do you hate the human body when you are not the human body? Love me, O Partha, love my human form. Love me, O Partha, love my human form. How should I tell you, O Partha, how should I tell you? How should I tell you, O Partha, how should I tell you? I am Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva. Serve me in this human form only. Soul need not hate the human body. At least love all the human beings. In any way love the human beings, so that you love me in human form. Before you love and serve me finally, you love and serve the humanity. Practice, O Partha, it is practice. Practice, O Partha, it is practice. How should I tell you, O Partha, how should I tell you? How should I tell you, O Partha, how should I tell you? Divine knowledge means detecting me, loving me, and then serving me always. Entire creation is my will only. The human body is also my will. God pervaded all my human body. God himself is teaching you. Don't claim that you are the Lord just by becoming the self. Demonism, O Partha, this is demonism. Demonism, O Partha, this is demonism. How should I tell you, O Partha, how should I tell you? How should I tell you, O Partha, how should I tell you? Sacrifice of work and fruit of work, both are the service like the plate of meals. Oral singing and love with the mind to be given like the drinking water. Don't give only water to Lord and charge him for giving the water. But meals must be with drinking water. Don't aspire for payment from Lord. He will bless you, O Partha. He will bless you always. He will bless you, O Partha. He will always bless you. How should I tell you, O Partha? How should I tell you? How should I tell you, O Partha? How should I tell you? You think of me as a human body, since you are also the human body. I am the hot water, water with heat. You are the cold water, water without heat. Don't propagate that I am the Lord. Others may not digest that truth. They will mock you and drag you down to their level to be equal with you. Human tendency, O Partha, this is human tendency. Human tendency, O Partha, this is human tendency. How should I tell you, O Partha? How should I tell you? How should I tell you, O Partha? How should I tell you?
दर्शय चरणं दत्तात्रेय दर्शय चरणं दत्तात्रेय दर्शय चरणं दत्तात्रेय दर्शय चरणं दत्तात्रेय भवाब्धितरणं भवपाशहर भवाब्धितरणं भवपाशहर भवाब्धितरणं भवपाशहर भवाब्धितरणं भवपाशहर दर्शय चरणं दत्तात्रेय दर्शय चरणं दत्तात्रेय दर्शय चरणं दत्तात्रेय दर्शय चरणं दत्तात्रेय करुणाभरणं किरणकारण करुणाभरणं किरणकारण करुणाभरणं किरणकारण करुणाभरणं किरणकारण दर्शय चरणं दत्तात्रेय दर्शय चरणं दत्तात्रेय दर्शय चरणं दत्तात्रेय दर्शय चरणं दत्तात्रेय ज्ञानाचरणं प्रज्ञानघन ज्ञानाचरणं प्रज्ञानघन ज्ञानाचरणं प्रज्ञानघन ज्ञानाचरणं प्रज्ञानघन दर्शय चरणं दत्तात्रेय 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 दत्ता भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं दत्ता भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, दत्ता नाम बिना आनंद नहीं, दत्ता वेद बिना सद्ग्रंथ नहीं, दत्ता गीत बिना सद्बोध नहीं, दत्ता भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, दत्ता रूप बिना सौंदर्य नहीं, दत्ता योग बिना अद्वैत नहीं, दत्ता दृष्टि बिना सत्प्रेम नहीं, दत्ता सेवा बिना सत्कर्म नहीं, दत्ता वाक्य बिना प्रज्ञान नहीं, दत्ता गान बिना संगीत नहीं, दत्ता संग बिना सत्संग नहीं, श्री दत्त बिना कोई अपना नहीं, गुरु दत्त बिना भगवान नहीं, प्रभु दत्त बिना परमात्मा नहीं, दत्ता भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, दत्ता भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, दत्ता भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं। धरती पर भक्तों के तुम हो उद्धारक, भक्तों के कष्टों के तुम हो निवारक, जीवों के भरता तुम ही हो मेरे पालक, जगत गण हूँ मैं और तुम जग संचालक।
गुरु दत्ता श्री दत्ता जय जय प्रभु दत्ता, त्रिमूर्ति अवतारी साक्षात परब्रह्म श्री दत्ता स्वामी।
सृष्टि स्थिति लयकारी तुम दत्ता अवतारी, तुम्हारी लीला स्वामी जग से है न्यारी, काषाय वस्त्रों में दत्त त्रिपुरारी, तुम्हारी महिमा गाए हम सब नर नारी।
गुरु दत्ता श्री दत्ता जय जय प्रभु दत्ता, त्रिमूर्ति अवतारी साक्षात परब्रह्म श्री दत्ता स्वामी।
त्रिगुणों के मालिक कर त्रिगुणों को धारण, स्वयं ही सिखाए ज्ञान भक्ति समर्पण, तेरे रमणार्थ सदा यत्न निरंतर, तुम्हारी सेवा में ही मैं रहूं सदा तत्पर।
गुरु दत्ता श्री दत्ता जय जय प्रभु दत्ता, त्रिमूर्ति अवतारी साक्षात परब्रह्म श्री दत्ता स्वामी।
वेदों के कर्ता तुम ही वेदों के रक्षक, तुमसे ही वेदों का अस्तित्व अब तक, वेदों के वचन हो तुम में ही सार्थक, तुम बिन स्वामी है ये जीवन निरर्थक।
गुरु दत्ता श्री दत्ता जय जय प्रभु दत्ता, त्रिमूर्ति अवतारी साक्षात परब्रह्म श्री दत्ता स्वामी।
प्रज्ञान स्वामी का है मोक्षकारी, नष्ट करे सारे अवगुण हमारे, जितनी भी चाहे हो ईर्ष्या हमारी, फिर भी न छोड़ा हमें बेसहारे।
गुरु दत्ता श्री दत्ता जय जय प्रभु दत्ता, त्रिमूर्ति अवतारी साक्षात परब्रह्म साक्षात् परब्रह्म श्री दत्ता स्वामी।
यथाशक्ति यथ भक्ति चरणारम्भे कर्म संन्यास कर प्रेम निर्धारे कर्म फल त्याग कर भक्ति प्रमाणे दोनों करे सो कर्मयोगी हो साबित।
गुरु दत्ता श्री दत्ता जय जय प्रभु दत्तात्रेय मूर्ति अवतारी साक्षात् परब्रह्म श्री दत्ता स्वामी।
अमृत वचन स्वामी का नैया है पारे सुन ले मन तू हो जा स्वामी का प्यारे। स्वामी बिन है पैर पंगुम हमारे स्वामी भजना हरे पीड़ा हमारी।
गुरु दत्ता श्री दत्ता जय जय प्रभु दत्तात्रेय मूर्ति अवतारी साक्षात् परब्रह्म श्री दत्ता स्वामी।
तुम रहो दाता सदा मैं रहूं सदा याचक तुम रहो सदा मालिक और मैं रहूं सदा सेवक। काहू को डरना जब तुम हो मेरे रक्षक तुम्हारी सेवा में ही जीवन मेरा सार्थक।
गुरु दत्ता श्री दत्ता जय जय प्रभु दत्तात्रेय मूर्ति अवतारी साक्षात् परब्रह्म श्री दत्ता स्वामी।
मनमोहक अति सुंदर अत्यंत प्यारी आनंदाई स्वामी छवि तुम्हारी। दर्शन मात्रे तृप्त आत्मा हमारी दृष्टि स्वामी की है चमत्कारी।
गुरु दत्ता श्री दत्ता जय जय प्रभु दत्तात्रेय मूर्ति अवतारी साक्षात् परब्रह्म श्री दत्ता स्वामी।
परिपूर्णतम साक्षात् परब्रह्म स्वामी वेदों से परिवेद सार है स्वामी। अनूह्य अवतारी अचिंत्य स्वामी मनुष्य अवतारी परब्रह्म स्वामी।
गुरु दत्ता श्री दत्ता जय जय प्रभु दत्तात्रेय मूर्ति अवतारी साक्षात् परब्रह्म श्री दत्ता स्वामी।
कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रिये वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृति स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् भक्त्यानन्या श्री दत्त स्वामिने समर्पयामि। श्री दत्त स्वामिने समर्पयामि। श्री दत्त स्वामिने समर्पयामि।
उद्वेगरहिता संतोषरहिता शांति समुद्रा श्री दत्ता शांति समुद्रा श्री दत्ता शांति समुद्रा श्री दत्ता। ओम शांति शांति शांति।
नमस्कार स्वामी।
नमस्ते 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 नमस्ते
नमस्कारं स्वामीजी।
नमस्ते नमस्ते
नमस्कारं स्वामी।
नमस्ते
स्वामीजी।
नमस्ते
नमस्कार स्वामीजी।
नमस्ते नमस्ते नमस्ते
नमस्कारं स्वामीजी।
नमस्ते
नमस्कारं स्वामी।
नमस्ते
नमस्कारं स्वामीजी।
नमस्ते
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 नमस्कारं स्वामी।
नमस्ते नमस्ते
नमस्कारं स्वामीजी।
नमस्ते नमस्ते
नमस्कारं
नमस्ते
स्वामी।
नमस्ते नमस्ते नमस्ते
नमस्कार स्वामी।
नमस्ते 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 नमस्ते
नमस्कार स्वामी।
नमस्ते 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 नमस्ते
नमस्कारं स्वामी।
नमस्ते नमस्ते नमस्ते
नमस्कार
नमस्ते नमस्ते नमस्ते
प्रणाम स्वामी जी।
नमस्ते नमस्ते नमस्ते
नमस्कार स्वामी जी।
नमस्ते नमस्ते
नमस्कार स्वामी।
नमस्ते नमस्ते
Is anyone left to offer,
नमस्ते
is anyone left to offer pranams to Swami? Pada namaskaram Swami.
नमस्ते
नमस्कार स्वामी जी।
नमस्ते